How are we doing today, folks? Hope you're having a good Saturday. So recently in the news, there's been a lot of talk about the new Trumpcare plan or Obamacare light plan, however you view it. I think it should be repealed, just a clean repeal, because I'd much rather have what the free market has for us at the time, and then try to create some sort of substantive um, um, healthcare reform of some sort, which for the most part would be giving to the free market anyways and just deregulating it. Honestly, because the federal government should have no hand in my opinion, in the health market at all, anyways. However, since that's been a really big topic in the news lately, and since there's going to be a vote on it next week, I believe, within the Republican-controlled House, I think I should speak about it, and I should speak about it based off of crap that my teachers say. So, something that my policy evaluation teacher said. I believe the last video I did, it was on something she had said before as well. But she basically touted, and I'm sure my other professors too, but she touted, I know, more than once, and she was all about CBO. She was all about the CBO reports. People, if you put your faith in CBO report, or if you put your faith in reports from the government in general, even if it's a independent government council, you're an idiot. I'm not trying to sound like a mean, but I'm saying if you just put your faith in that and just say, solely by the numbers is this. And yeah, sometimes I will use government numbers. I will. When it goes against the liberals. Well, I will always say, keep in mind though, this is from the government. So I'm going to use this example, but just knowing that if these numbers end up being wrong, right, or if these numbers end up, not being correct, then understand that it's because it's from the government. Understand that you need to have more than one source that are either backing up these numbers or have numbers very similar to it, and they might be off within the margin of error from certain individual organizations and such. So anyway, so my teacher, in crap that she said and stuff that she would tout on occasion, especially with Obamacare, was that basically how the CBO had reported that about 23 million people by the year of 2026, there'd be 23 million people kicked off of health insurance. So there'd be 23 million less people with health coverage if the new Republican plan for healthcare would be passed. This is absolute crap. And once again, this comes from the CBO. I actually have the CBO report right in front of me where it says, and I quote, "The increase in the number of uninsured people relative to the number under current law would reach 19 million in 2020 and 23 million in 2026. And this is under estimated effects on insurance coverage, which means if we were to change from the ACA over to the Republicans' plan. Once again, this is crap. And the reason why this is crap is because what the CBO does is CBO is being very generous to the numbers of how many people would actually sign up for Obamacare. As we all know, millions and millions of people that were expected to sign up for Obamacare didn't sign up for Obamacare. Not only that, over 6 million Americans were kicked off of their own health insurance. Over 6 million Americans were kicked off of their own health insurance. And as we also saw, many young Americans like myself who don't, luckily I'm covered. I have my own coverage, but luckily but for a lot of other Americans, young Americans that only really need catastrophic health insurance, for example, they said, I'd rather just pay the penalty. I'd rather just pay this penalty and not go to pay for health insurance that I don't need, or expensive health insurance that I just physically can't pay for, because as it's shown, statistically speaking, people my age range and with my level in education and everything else, still working through college, are the poorest Americans. Literally, thank God I have great parents who have a very conservative uprising and have worked hard their whole lives so that I can go to school and learn and hopefully pay them back for it one day, and just show their appreciation through my hard work. So I'm getting this off of the Gallon Institute. Now, I just recently heard of the Gallon Institute upon reading what they're all about. It seemed to be more to the right. Gallon was an old physician from way back. He was the most important one after in Greece after Hippocrates. After Hippocrates, I think that's how you say his name. Anyways, so they have a really good report right here, all about it, all about the numbers. This is just, of course, one of many reports. Also, Heritage Foundation up here as well. I'll go over one of their reports. a little info in there, and obviously Heritage is to the right. A conservative think tank, very good stuff. I highly suggest checking them out. I'm sure all of y'all watching this though already know about them. Anyways, so what we're seeing here is it was estimated that about 12 million people were estimated to sign up for Obamacare within in March 2016. What actually happened was 10 million. So that's already 2 million people down, which is a lot, which is about 16%, almost 17% of people. They're 17% off. That's where they started out from. And the reason why is because, like I said, they were over generous to how many people, including the ones that were now kicked out for their insurance and the ones that never had insurance, how many people would be joining for Obamacare? They were over generous with it. They thought, okay, well, it's going to keep going. Not only that, but they figured that by the time that 2018 came along, there would be 18 million people. 18 million people. From 2016 to 2018, they think 18 million people are going to be covered under Obamacare exchanges. That's 80% increase. That's not going to happen, especially since 2 million people already, from the very get-go, 2 million less didn't sign up. On top of that, the many young people that aren't going to sign up anyways because they just don't want to spend their more money on health insurance that they just don't need at that time because they take regular checkups because they're healthier, because they're young. And then also when you have that most people that are under Obamacare, that when it expanded was just under the Medicaid expansion. Most people that have joined Obamacare, most people that have joined the exchanges or any sort of the benefits that were rolled out because of Obamacare, the government benefits that were rolled out because of Obamacare, was through Medicaid. That's what it was. It was through Medicaid, which was really, it's almost like that was what was planned all along. And states, although the Supreme Court found that obviously that this individual mandate could be passed via tax, because the insurance companies are going to get their money one way or another. People, they're going to get their money one way or another. So Obamacare and all of his goonies and all them, the people saying that it was passed because of the stupidity of the American voter. What they're saying is that, okay, well, since we can't force insurance companies to bear the costs of these people, pre-existing conditions and whatnot, we're just going to do an individual mandate via tax, which is legal via tax because obviously the Congress is allowed to lay a tax, and since you have a Democrat-controlled Congress, they're going to pass it no matter what. But what they couldn't do is force states, what the federal government couldn't do is force states to expand Medicare, which 19 states off the get-go were said, no, we're not doing that, and even more are starting to follow through as well. And Obamacare is obviously crashing down. It's going bankrupt. It of course was sold Obamacare. This is how you know it's crap. When you have a CBO report touting one number, and then all your liberal professors, like mine, like my liberal professor, or whatever the hell she is to the left, touting the CBO reports and touting the numbers of hysteria and catastrophe, or touting the numbers of, oh, this is how good it's going to be, this is how many people are saved. That's how you know it's crap, because they're always getting it from one source, and they don't know how much the CBO messed up, or they don't know how much the CBO overcompensates for how many people they expect to join. They expected that many people to join because it was less expensive, or because now that it's open, now that it's subsidized by the federal government, right? Which means by the people who make more money in this country, who are the people that employ other people, which is now that it's paid by them, they think, oh, well, now that it's supposed to be cheaper, there's going to be more people that are going to join the system, which clearly didn't happen, especially for young people. They're hoping a lot more young people, you and I, would be signing up for it, and clearly you and I said, no, this is crap, I don't need this, especially since the penalty is less than the insurance premiums that I'm going to be paying in the first place. So I want you to always be reticent to believe just random numbers thrown out by some random institute or by some random people. So I'm giving you my sources right now. I mean, this is a lot of these numbers off of Gallon Institute. Very good institute from what I've been reading thus far. And then Heritage Foundation as well. Now I like Heritage Foundation. Of course, they come from a conservative view as I do as well. But just the amount of facts and the amount of numbers and analytics that they throw into their research is mind-boggling, mind-blowing. You can't. It'd be hard for you to really be able to track all this without writing it down and then rereading it 20 gazillion times. It's absolutely crazy. So basically, the main points are, when you hear your teachers throwing out these random numbers, throwing these numbers from the CBO, which is supposed to be like it's supposed to be just the golden throne of numbers and analytics when it comes to anything that the Congress pushes out. When it comes to anything that Congress pushes out, apparently a CBO is always believed to be right on the dot, or at least when the left, like when it comes out in the left's favor. Right? Like this 23 million people are going to lose by 2026. That's absolute crap, especially given the sense, like I said, the amount of people that CBO expects people to join Obamacare haven't and will not and are not going to. And you're crazy if you think that 18 million people between 2016 and 2018 are going to be on those Obamacare exchanges, especially since they're crashing down in every state, and since Anthem Blue Cross just pulled out as well. I don't know how biased individuals are in the CBO. They're smart people, I'm sure. They're smart with math, I'm sure. But they're overcompensating. Now, why? Like I said in my last video, you cannot. It's hard for you to take out the individual bias of people in their workplace, especially when they're in the government. That's going to be really hard. You have to understand that's going to be. Think about your opinions and how that affects and your paradigm of the world, whether it's religious, whether it's not religious, whether it's however you view life, or whatever it is. Think about how that corresponds to what you do every day. Now think about doing that in a place of power within the government. Even if it's minute, it's still a place of power within the federal government. That's going to be hard for individuals who are not driven by some sort of objective moral code, who are just driven by subjective opinion, subjective morality. This is what they believe, therefore it is good. Not for it is good, therefore I believe it. That's going to be hard for them to take those biases out of their job, especially within the government, which is what we've seen. And the rise of the bureaucratic state ever since FDR, maybe a little bit before then, really ever since maybe the ICC as well in the 1800s, ever since the rise of the bureaucratic state and its origins, we've seen just people with a bias come into the government and make it to benefit themselves and not to serve the people. So, just another segment of crap my teacher said. The 23 million is absolute garbage. It's an absolute lie. It's just an overcompensation with the amount of people that the CBO thought would join, and they didn't at all. In fact, it was under the first year by over 16%. And then as we see more insurers and care providers pull out, and we see more states pull out as well of expanding Medicaid, we're going to continually see more and more people just not sign up for it. But what's unfortunate is that since the government still is way deep into the healthcare market, we're not going to see premiums come down quite yet. This is why we need a full repeal and deregulation of the healthcare industry. Because the more government ties into the health insurance companies and to health insurance in general, the more expensive you're going to see your premiums go, or at least you're going to see the prices be static, and they're going to be static at a higher cost. And then when you have other economic factors such as inflation, such as the push for higher energy costs because we want to push the solar and renewable energies, you have to realize every single thing that makes that dollar worth less, including the pumping of money, of course, and including charging what makes everything else run, like energy, for example. So when you really get that, when you take off the blinders and see how much the economy is really tailored together, and then you see how the government wants to implement itself more into something like the healthcare market, which is now literally a fourth of the U.S. federal budget, you can understand as to why our economy, has been stagnant for the last few years. And you can understand why we need a full repeal. We need to take emotions out of this for a second and realize that more and more people are going to be harmed if we continue to go towards nationalized and socialized medicine rather than let the free market reign. Because the free market reigning is the only reason why a person like, I don't know, Charlie Gard, a little baby Charlie Gard, might be able to get the help he can here. And that all comes down to, honestly, the sanctity of life as well. That it depends on how much we cherish life, and it depends on how willing we are to go and seek information and seek the truth. Are we willing to just listen to a CBO report, are willing to just listen to our leftist professors, or are willing to go find out for ourselves and realize that lower prices come with a free market, and that human nature and human ambition is hindered when everyone else has a voice, and when everyone else is able to kind of go and get their desires, or the products they desire, or the services they desire, that are best tailored to their needs, because that means it's spread out more, and that means there's less power within each entity. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll put up another video soon. I hope some of y'all are going to Politicon. I'm going to Politicon. I'm excited. It's my first time going. I'm hopefully going to sport this shirt out. Not necessarily to give a free plug to Alex Epstein, though I love his stuff, and I just bought his books. I'm really excited for that. Go check out his stuff. Anyways, folks, I will be back with another crap my teacher said. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and thank you so much for watching. I'm Wyatt, and I'm the College Conservative.